Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draw odds are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. Remember, when you become a member of GoHunt.com/insider, you're going to get a $50 gift card to Go Hunt Gear Shop. What's in the gear shop? The best gear that you can buy for hunting the West. All in all, if you're hunting out West in 2018, GoHunt.com/insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today. Hey, folks, this is the third and final segment with Land Management with Grandpa Ray Outdoors and Mr. John O'Brien. In this segment, we're going to talk about the plan. Finally, all this work has gone in, and you thought about it. Now you're going to get some sort of document, a digital document, a paper document, or a combination of those things. So you can look at this from year one to however long your plan runs. John, welcome back to the show, and let's talk about the plan from Grandpa Ray Outdoors.
Yeah, if I have somebody where I'm actually stepping on property, hopefully they've had soil samples taken ahead of time, but if they haven't, that's one thing that we've done at times is I've helped people take soil samples as we're walking around touring the property, because without a soil sample, I'm just guessing, we're rolling the dice, it's hard to formulate a solid plan. So that's essential. When I'm on a property, we'll walk around, and if there's existing plots, everybody's probably got a name for each plot, and if they don't, we'll help create a name. Or I guess in some cases, people are like, I don't care. Just call it plot 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, whatever. So again, what we'll do then is I'll have a plan that we'll put on hard copy, and it'll have the name of each plot, the acres of each plot. It'll have what seed mix that we're going to recommend, when to plant that seed mix, how much of that seed mix to plant, what fertilizer to use for that seed mix, how much of that fertilizer to use and when. And then again, we also will have some other little notes on there saying, if it's a perennial mix, clip every 30 to 45 days. Maybe if a guy's got certain weed issues, I'll give a recommendation saying, hey, use in May 10 ounces of clethodim mixed with 949 plant foods and that. And again, when I do a plan, it'd be for the current year. But then we also, when we're walking around on these properties, we'll also bring up as part of the plan that, hey, the following year we'll have another plan. What we're planning this year is setting ourselves up for doing something the following year on that bit of land. So, that's one thing that we do discuss. And with technology, whether using Hunt Stand or Onyx Maps, we have the ability to use the aerial, imagery to create a measurement tool and a shading and a layout where people can look on an email. A picture is like, okay, this is plot 1. It's zero point 0.5 acres. Here's how it is laid out. And, so that also is beneficial, not just with me, short-term, long-term, but also for, the land manager. Because in some of these plots, we might have multiple mixes planted. Just about any plot, we probably want to be considering a scrape line, maybe screening to help get you in your stand, or to make these, plots a little less able to be viewed from a distance by a buck. Trying to also create little doorways, travel corridors, et cetera, to make your property more of a highway. So, so as part of the plan, that's part of the thinking there. So, depending on how many food plots, maybe it's a page, maybe it's 2-3 pages of hard copy where we have all that essential information. So, if a guy, let's just say we're planting a clover mix, I'll have a recommendation on what to fertilize that plant in. And then it also might have, okay, we want to winterize that plot. So again, in September, you're going to come back with 0060 straight potassium and add another 100 pounds. So we put a lot of information on the plan that's easy, but yet easy enough to look at, because we could make this rocket science into the average person. They just want to look at it, be able to understand it easily, and apply it. Doesn't need to be a Bible. Doesn't need to be a book. We're just creating a basic plan that everybody understands.
How long does, your typical plan last per person? Because we talked about earlier segments, what if the farmer's growing corn one year and then soybeans the next year and throws in oats the other year and then just has alfalfa the other year? Yeah, there's 4 years of different food sources that provide different nutrition to deer. And guess what? They know what's on the table. They really do.
Yeah. And for me, when it comes to the rotation, plot rotation, crop rotation, it's essential for long-term sustainability. I like it could be an indefinite amount of years, but I kind of like people to think at least 3-year rotation. Case in point, because we're talking right now about habitat, right? Habitat could also be a cornfield. Habitat could be a deer and bird mix. Habitat could be a permanent screening. Habitat could be a annual screening mix. So again, that also could be a part of the long-term plan. So you could have a strip. Maybe year 1, it's soybeans. Year 2, it's corn. Year 3, it's a soil builder or a warm season annual mix that you can till down, build organic matter, and then come back in again in year 4 with soybeans and repeat the process. So that's why when we, get started, you got sand ground, you got loam ground, you got clay. Those all come into play as far as what we plant, where to plant, when to plant, and then how many year rotation.
When people call you up, okay, we talked about the input sheet or your questionnaires, and they say, typically just to walk my ground, you're not selling me anything, you just to walk my ground, be a consultant, as you so aptly said. What can they expect from that type of engagement?
As from when people get a hold of me and I get out on their property, every situation is different. I could spend 2 hours. I could be spending, a day there if that's what needs to be done. What I tend to do is walk the property, communicate with the individual, take a bunch of notes, do measurements where need be, soil samples if need be. But then I also spend, as I leave that property, my brain is working. I maybe come up with some other alternatives. Kind of, maybe we talked about some things out there on the field, but then as certain, as I start thinking about this long-term plan, maybe there's a couple little tweaks that I'm like, God, maybe I need to look at this a little different. Get in front of the computer, maybe actually measure out some of these fields, start laying out, okay, we have a rough idea what we want to do this year. But then when I'm trying to think about a 3-year potential rotation, maybe we need to change a couple of the plots so it fits, your rotation. Maybe let's just say if a guy's got 8 8 food plots. I never want to plant too much of one mix, not just because of biodiversity, but also it's harder to maintain a good rotation, when you do not have enough diversity. So, with that in mind, here's what I like to talk to people as far as goals. A, we always want to fixate nitrogen where possible and just want any bit of land every year. B, we want to naturally suppress weeds. C, we want to build organic matter. There's a lot of properties out there where we're low on organic matter. Very few people have enough organic matter. And again, we want to minimize inputs. Who wants to spend a lot of money on fertilizers? Not me. So when we lay out a plan, and remember I brought up nitrogen fixation, but I also talk to people about, okay, you can sequester nutrients by using radishes and some bulbs. They uptake nutrients. When they re-rot back down in February, March, they're re-releasing nutrients. So again, erosion, rain, nutrients can get, eroded and out of the root zone. So there's other factors that come into play that most property managers don't think about. This is the agronomics. This is long-term sustainability. These are things that I consider that, that's my job. That's my consideration why I work out a plan the way I do, besides, hey, this would be a great mix to plant in this area because the deer will come here, they'll love it, you'll shoot a deer. That's short-sighted, short-term thinking. We don't want to ever mine the soil. We want to maximize any bit of fertilizer we put down. We want to have as much growth of whatever we decide to plant as we can. And again, as part of that equation, we don't want the deer to walk super far to get to these areas. What does that mean? We need to lay out bedding areas, whether it be stump cutting, hedge cutting, perennial warm season native grasses, annual warm season cover areas. They could, like I said, they could be part of the rotation. They could complement the rotation. But as you mentioned in the past, and so many people talk about, what do we need? Food, bedding cover, water. We need it close. We need it accessible. We need it to be quality. That's all part of the plan. It's all part of my thinking.
So typically when somebody does call you, when you decide you're going to go on the ground, do they give you a deposit or just say, I'll come by and look? I mean, you can't be going all over the country. You talked about going out to PA. So, how does that work? Because, people don't know. They say, hey, I'll call up the seed guy. He'll come walk my thing, sell me some seed and fertilizer, and then I'm on my own. I mean, it's confusing to me.
Yeah. Well, it depends if you're Bruce Hutchin or a good buddy of yours or somebody that's been a long-term customer that you trust. Not so worried. If it's somebody I don't know from Adam, I do like to have a deposit. And moving forward, we're going to be doing things a little different with charging, and that's something that as I'm getting to have more demand throughout the United States, there's a lot of demand on my time. So again, we're going to have to do things to be a little bit different. To be fair, not just to the other properties that I am trying to schedule on, but also to be fair to myself. And I need to be more of a planner. But part of the process to be cost effective for our customers is I try to schedule multiple visits in certain areas. So I know, Bruce, you got property over there, in southwest Wisconsin. And, again, if you're like, John, I need to get you out there. And I also know that there's maybe another guy or two that has also wanted me to get on that property in that area. We try to schedule it the same day so we can share the mileage among, each of the 2 or 3 property owners. So it'll be more efficient, cost effective for each of you guys, but also it's easier for me. Don't have to go back and forth as many times. And again, I'm blessed that I got a very busy schedule, and it's great to plan. Everybody should plan more. Makes life less stressful, right?
Yeah, it really does. And I'll just throw this out. If you haven't considered somebody to come and put eyes on your ground on the land management, this is the year to do it. This is the month to do it. We're in April. You get cracking. And the other thing, and I always smile at this when I'm talking to people at shows. They go, "Well, I know all about that."
Well, here's one thing that I'm going to throw at you, Bruce. When's the great, because like guys like, Ard Helen, I mean, he loves being on properties like February, March. Okay. For me, when's a great time to have John on a property? Well, I like to say any time. I've had some interesting cases this year where one property, because when you schedule, right? I've been on a property where it's 20 below zero. We did a lot of good things. I don't love 20 below zero being on a property, but we did it. It worked. I had another case, no snow on the ground in south central Wisconsin. Got a little bit farther north, north central, and I was expecting no snow on the ground. Fly around 500 acres, have a great time, do a lot of good, get out of there. Within 100 yards of the cabin, we got stuck. 12 inches of snow on the ground yet. So I had to walk the property with a guy, and every step we're sinking 8 inches deep. And so, again, different perspective. If I'd have been there a month later or in July, it's a different perspective. Ideally, I'd like to have my foot on the ground where I can see the soil compaction, see if there's any weed challenges and that. But again, I could be on a property anytime. Case in point, maybe I can't get on to Bruce's property until June 1st. What's the advantage of being on the property June 1st? If you have existing growing perennial clovers at June 1st, I'm like, I can see the problem areas on your property. Maybe there's some plant health issues. Maybe there's some poor growth issues. Maybe you got very little growth in one area. I'm basically at that point in time, I become a crop scout. I really get a feel for your soil types based on what's actually growing. Versus if I'm out there in February, the biggest advantage of February is we don't have all the leaves out there. We can see the travel areas maybe a little bit better before the spring green up. We maybe can see, the bedding, and where the deer are bedding a little better at that time of year versus in June. Plus, in some areas of Wisconsin, I'm not getting eaten alive in February versus June. The mosquitoes are probably killing us. And so we're maybe not quite spending as much time really dialing things in because we're like, we got to get the heck out of here. We're getting eaten alive. So could it be August? Could it be September? There's always good that can be done at any time of year. Depending on where you live, you're going to get whole different answers, whole different type of scouting. But then again, the end result is you're still getting valuable information.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I'm sitting here and out in Colorado, folks, and snow's blowing through, and thinking about a great time to scout for deer. I used to love was the January February time, because the trails were there. They were going from bedding to food. That's just what it was. So there's no secrets to that, and that brings me up. In your plan, I broke it. I like to think you break it down into quarters, and it encompasses everything. So what am I going to scout? What areas am I going to start shed hunting? Where have I found sheds before? I mean, it just doesn't stop. John, your thoughts about that? We're going to wrap up the segment.
Yeah, when to scout, how to scout. Again, that's the great thing with February, March. You can accomplish two things at one time. You can be shed hunting, right? But also we could be seeing areas where, maybe we need to, move our stand to a different tree because maybe their travel corridors moved. Maybe you're responsible for that travel pattern moving. Hopefully not. And again, maybe, when I'm out scouting some of these properties for people, if I'm walking around and all of a sudden that deer stand sticks out like a sore thumb, maybe it's sticking out for the deer. Then again, I'm walking around. I'm like, well, where's your stands? And the guy's like, oh, it's right there. And I have to really look to find it. Then I know that, you did a great job, because if I'm not seeing it, the deer probably is not seeing you in that area too. So when are you going to want to move these stands? It's probably a good time to be getting it done before it gets to, beyond April, maybe May, because what we want to do is not go into these. This is probably the only time of year we want to go into those sanctuaries, core areas. We can scout it. Let's not go back in there again. Each guy, let's say, hey, we're committed. We're not going in these areas at this date. So that's the one advantage of getting out there, in February through April is like, you know what? Let's move our stands. Let's scout. Let's look for sheds. Let's, if we're going, maybe there's some trail cameras because of technology. Maybe you got the cellular camera where every time a deer walks past, it takes a picture, it sends it to your phone. And so you don't have to walk in these areas. You already know what's going through those areas. there's some areas that maybe there's a little food plot in the middle of this isolated area that you plant it, it's a perennial, maybe you fertilize it once a year, you don't go in there. You don't need to go in there. You don't want to go in there. So, that's the one upside of some of this technology is we can do a lot of scouting, get a lot of information without actually putting our foot in the ground after that, a certain time during the year, and that really helps tilt the table for us.
So, John, somebody's interested in following up with you. This segment is going to be out, late this month once they get them all edited. But how would they do that?
Get a hold of me. You can email me at ObrienAg. It's OBRIONAG@gmail.com. Phone number is 608-235-0628. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time because I'm out here in Wisconsin. Give me a holler. I can, give you guys at least a little bit of direction and see if we are a good fit as far as, helping you out in your long-term planning. And again, I want to emphasize what I'm best at is the soil, the seed, the food plotting. Yes, I can help with the answers on water. Yes, I can help with stand locations. Yes, I can help with certain tricks. But if you're wanting advice on forestry, what trees to cut, whether you're stump cutting, hedge cutting, there's guys that do a much better job, like with Art Helen. If it's water, there's other guys like Zach Oss out there that if you really want to dial in with more specific, educating, setting up your plan, consult those guys. Because, again, what my specialty is the soil, the seed, the rotations, the fertilizations, the overall health of your food plot areas.
And with that, we're going to wrap up this segment of land management with Grandpa Ray Outdoors and Mr. John O'Brien from Madison, Wisconsin area. And John's been a good friend. He's been on the show many times. And John, again, I just thank you so much for being part of my journey here at Whitetail Rendezvous. And I can't wait to see you in a few weeks. We'll get together somehow, some way when I'm out there picking up my stuff in my new truck and maybe hunting some turkeys.
Sounds good, Bruce. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak at everybody out there.
Hey, folks, a special edition of Whitetail Rendezvous is coming. I've asked 3 companies, Land & Legacy, Rackology, and Grandpa Ray Outdoors, to be part of a series on land management and food plots. So the next few episodes, about 18 of them, in fact, are going to be about either land management or food plots. Why? Because people have been asking me a lot of questions. So I went out and chatted with some guys, and Adam Keith and Matt Dye from Land & Legacy is joining the crew. And at Rackology, we have Jason Obermiller and Eric Fitzgerald. And rounding out the team is Grandpa Ray Outdoors with John O'Brien. Each of them is going to bring a different flavor on what is land management, what are food plots, why you need them, the pros and cons. So listen up to the next series, and I sure hope you like them. If you like them, let me know. If you don't like them, let me know what I can do better. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.